I was super excited. And yet at the same time, I was so exhausted.
Excited, expectant, overwhelmed.
I felt like a kid at Christmas.
It was a 15-month process for us.
18 months.
It was a 6-year journey.
Will they even like us?
Would they want me to be their mom?
All we had prepared for, all we had waited for, all in one moment, it all came down to this.
And I knew that in a matter of days, my life was gonna completely change, and I just couldn't turn my mind off.
Finally, after so much paperwork and emotions and waiting, this is gonna happen.
God's promise was coming to pass.
There you were, innocent, beautifully helpless, created on purpose for a purpose. Gazing with hope into the sky of endless possibilities, your joy pure, your need simple. Created in the image of the God that has no need, yet you lacked the ability to do more than breathe. New life was entrusted into a parent's hands, hands that have reached for big dreams, yet like all of us have been broken, cracked, and worn by the toil of life. This collision of new life and old creates a whirlwind of good intention laced with broken expectation, sometimes leading to ultimate rejection and the worst kind of stories.
Teddy was given up at age 2, where then he eventually made his way into an Ethiopian orphanage.
Harper lost both of her parents to poverty and hunger.
The twins had a really traumatic past, and we can't even really talk about it, but just think of some of the most horrific things that could happen, and that's how bad it was.
Yeah, I remember when I first saw him, he was so tiny, so malnourished.
Our biggest issues when we brought her home were with food. She had been without food for 5 years.
These stories are real. Questions of how and why replace the power of endless possibility and untapped imagination. And the end result is heartbreaking.
But one of the things I remember was the non-stop screaming.
She would throw tantrums at every meal.
They took off and just started eating all the food out of the trash. And I wanted to run over and say, guys, you don't have to eat the trash anymore. There's a cafeteria right here. I'll buy you a meal. But they kept eating the trash anyway because that's what trauma does.
But this isn't how it's supposed to be. We were all created by a perfect Father, and His perfect design was without pain, without fear, without the noise of why. Every orphan lives in this broken mirror of remember when, or if only this were different. And all are asking one question: will anyone choose me? But by God's grace and heavenly design, there is a solution to all this madness. Adoption, a beautiful collision. Devastating loss meets love and acceptance. Not an easy process, to say the least, not a cheap one either. But could there be a more redeeming one?
He would look at us and he would say, no family. We would, of course, just keep loving him, keep telling him, no, you are a part of our family now. And we love you, and we're gonna love you no matter what, and we'll never leave you. I don't remember how many times I looked in his face and said, Teddy, I will never leave you.
I think what every adoptive parent learns is that it is so important for the kids to realize, you know, we're family, we're not going anywhere, and you're never gonna be alone anymore.
Fast forward now 5 years, we were around the table and going around saying what we were thankful for, and he said, I am thankful for my family who loves God.
We heard about a 16-year-old girl who needed a family, probably like a month into her living with us. And the social worker came over and just said, hey, how long can Dalal stay with you? And I didn't even have to think about it. Like, it just immediately came out of my mouth. I want her as my daughter. If she wants to be my daughter, she can be my daughter. And everything I have is hers. I felt like God was like speaking to me and going, don't you get, like, that's what I've said to you. You know, like, everything that is mine is yours, Francis. I treat you like I treat my own son.
So you see, this story isn't just their story, it's our story. We are desperate for rescue. You chose sin and became enslaved to the most evil father of all time. He lured you, he deceived you, he beat you and broke you and left you abandoned at an orphanage called hopelessness. As a result, you were headed for a life of destruction and spiritual prostitution, giving yourself to false substitutes that torture and leave you empty and alone. Who would pick me? Shame-filled, inheritance squandered, head bowed, hands holding onto nothing but a pocket full of regrets, gazing at the food pigs eat and longing for it. Then another father showed up. Peering in the orphanage window, he saw you, dirty, helpless, fatherless, deserving, far from it. But God demonstrates his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. So the unthinkable took place. God walked right into your orphanage and picked you. The evil dictator that runs the place was hell-bent on not letting you go. He made his point loud and clear. Cheater, liar, sinner, lawbreaker, and you were guilty on all accounts. But Jesus, the one who disrupts pain. The scriptures declare God sent forth his Son to redeem those who are under the law so that we might receive adoption as his children. And because you are his children, God has sent the Spirit of his Son into our hearts crying, Abba, Father, so that you are no longer a slave, but a child. And if a child, then an heir through God. This is adoption. In the brokenness of our junk on our dirtiest day, the dirt put on us by others and the dirt we put on ourselves, Jesus surveyed the damage and said, I choose you. You didn't have to earn it. You didn't have to work for it. You didn't have to make anything happen to make it happen. It was his eyes that drove him to pay the ultimate price. He saw you and he still sees you. He hasn't turned away. He can't. You have won his heart. And now you can say with confidence that from my mother's womb, you have chosen me. Love has called my name. I've been born again into your family. Your blood flows through my veins. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. You split the sea so I could walk right through it. My fears were drowned in perfect love. You rescued me, and I can stand and sing that I am a child of God.